Hello? Is this a good volume? Hi, I'm gonna take this. Hi everyone, thanks for having me here. I'm from Connecticut, so it's really nice to be here. I have a really long story, so I'm not going to tell you the entire story. I did a TEDx talk about it where it's kind of summarized in 15 minutes. I wrote a one-woman musical about it. That's kind of 70 minutes. I've done books, I've done art, and the reason why I'm telling you all the different formats that I put my story into is that I really want to talk about, how I healed, which is through figuring out what my story was and finding some way to get it out of myself and process it for myself and then share it with my community. And that is how I really went from a survivor who was kind of run by a story I didn't understand to someone that became empowered by it and proud of it. I didn't really plan what I was going to say. I never do, and I'm really glad that I didn't, because the ritual starting off tonight was so beautiful. And it brought to mind so many things. To the point where I feel like I was, meant to be here for a reason. Because I'm very inspired by mythology and ritual, and I think the reason why creating theater, creating a one-woman musical about my life, was so healing for me is the fact that I got to share it for a community. And healing from trauma. It is so important that happens in community. It was kind of thought that the Greek plays of like Sophocles about war and all those kind of things were actually made for military veterans to actually kind of embody stories of war and share what they had been through for the community. Bringing that secret out of us to light is so healing. But I also know it's a lot easier said than done. So to kind of give a bit of where I'm coming from, I grew up a musical theater ham. That was what I always wanted to do, and I thought my life would be kind of, figured out, just do theater, go to college and study theater, and do theater for the rest of my life. I was sexually abused by my voice teacher, who really was my mentor and who fostered a relationship with me for 2 years where I really looked up to this person. And my reaction was, I froze. I left my body, and I don't remember anything that happened. And actually, I didn't even understand, or I couldn't perceive that I had been abused, except this is how. I had always felt very connected to nature and the world around me, and I always felt like a very spiritual person. And growing up, the thing that made me the happiest in life was actually taking nature walks and feeling connected to trees. For me, trees were like always my symbol of grounding. I mean, I talked to them like they were my friends every day after school, and every day, I looked at my nature walks and really thought, okay, like, what message is this tree giving me? Leaning slightly to the right. What message is this, like, fall leaf? And for me, like, the world was full of miracles in nature, and it was my job just to listen. And that was really what sustained me as a kid. Now, right after the abuse happened, I was taking my nature walks, and I didn't understand why suddenly, I couldn't connect on that emotional level. All of a sudden everything became very mechanical and numb, and I didn't feel like myself, and I didn't understand why. And instead of focusing on the magic all around me and feeling my open heart, and all I could concentrate on was the rhythm of my feet walking. I could only perceive on that level. Everything became very mechanical and numb, and I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, why am I not being inspired by the world anymore? I actually realized I had been abused because I happened to pick up a book in Barnes & Noble's, The Courage to Heal, because I felt like I was in need of some kind of healing book, and the title intrigued me. I then saw, as I took out the book, that the caption said, "For survivors of sexual assault." And those words at that point in my life were so foreign to me that I almost laughed and put it back. Like, that can't happen to me. But I actually did take the book, and I happened to flip open to the page of symptoms. And as I was going through the list of symptoms, I feel numb, I feel out of body, I don't trust myself anymore. That page described me to a T, and actually seeing those words on the paper is how I realized for the first time, I was able to connect the dots and understand that I had been sexually abused. And from that moment on, it was like I was harboring this deep secret, now that I was aware of what was happening, and I didn't know what to do with. It was too big of a secret for me to handle on my own. So I kept that secret inside. I really felt paralyzed by it, and that turned into anxiety and all this restless energy where I really just thought something was more wrong with me. What happened after is a lot of medical things that I was in a coma. I went through a decade of really severe medical trauma, which I'm not going to get into now. It's in my one-woman musical, Gutless and Grateful, that I'll be performing tomorrow. But anyway, it was two events very close together where I didn't even really get a chance to process all the traumas that had happened. And so basically, when I woke up from a coma and was dealing with all these medical things, there was too much going on to even think about what had happened before my coma. So now I want to kind of jump a bit to how I healed, which is why this ritual starting was so meaningful to me. A book that changed my life was a book by Peter Levine called Waking the Tiger. And he talks about how, we all have this energy within us. And when a trauma happens, it just kind of sucks that energy, it freezes it. And so if you imagine our energy like a river, like water flowing, when a trauma happens, it just sucks us under, and suddenly we're swirling in this vortex and we don't even know what happened, and the rest of the world is just flowing along it, and we can't get out of this kind of vortex. And what Peter Levine did is he went back to nature, and he studied animals in the wild, and he noticed, how they respond to trauma. And what he saw was, when an animal, like when a gazelle is like leaping around in nature and gets attacked, it plays dead. It freezes. Then afterwards, after it like freezes, it will just kind of gallop away for miles and miles and miles and discharge that energy, and suddenly it'll get over that trauma. And so he was thinking to himself, what makes animals able to just like be traumatized and just get it out of their system? And so what he realized was, when trauma happens, it freezes our energy, and we need to find some way of healing from trauma in our bodies, through taking that frozen energy and moving it through us, through dance, through art, through song, through conversation. We need to find some way to express that frozen energy so we can transform it. And that was really a revelation for me, because I realized all that shame and guilt that I felt, all that anxious energy that I was dealing with, that was just energy. And theoretically, I could use that energy, and I could write a song with that energy. I could paint with that energy. I could find some way of moving that energy through me so I could reclaim it again for my own. And it didn't have to be guilt. It was just it was like water. It was a fluid energy that I could shape. And that really made me feel very empowered with that energy that once was running my life, silencing me. And I used that energy to share my story. Seeing this ritual today, opening up the night. God, I'm still kind of speechless because I believe that it's through these kind of rituals that we can, connect with not only, our energy, but the energy of the earth, learning lessons all around us every day of how nature kind of ebbs and flows, and how, we can all take whatever energy is within us and we can shape that as artists. That was how I ended up writing my show. And the first time I was able to share that I was sexually abused, with the public was in that musical. I don't think I had really the courage to say it on my own before that. So I kind of just went on a tangent right there. But if there's one thing I wanted to say about taking back the night, it's about really reclaiming that energy for our own. So many negative feelings that I dealt with for years, having no idea that I could really use that as mine and turn it into something better. So I guess that's the message I wanted to leave you guys with. And thank you.